Welcome to VariantsOnly versus xuanet for Crazy House World Championship. It's going to be 3+2, 10 games, and in case of a tie, it just ends in a tie, since this is for the candidate stage. And the candidate stage is all about how many game points you get, so not about winning matches, but just about winning the games. As many as possible. And we have VariantsOnly with the white pieces first game for xuanet. And if you remember, maybe they also played for in the knockout stage actually, after they both had already made their way into the candidates. And they had a thrilling 9-7 match. I think it's these last games, I guess. They played to each other, so very well matched, these guys. And VariantsOnly in the e4, e5 structures like to play knight g5, and if he doesn't know what he's doing, he likes to take knight takes h7 to stir up trouble early on. Oh, there we go. He thought for like half a minute and then decided, I don't know what the correct move here is, so I just play knight takes h7. And probably just bishop e3 was fine. Just keep developing. But now there's material imbalance, and well, if you move the knights, let's say, back, then queen h5 is really annoying, so probably you want to keep the knights, or you want to try bishop g4 to provoke f3 and then move back and let the knight be taken, something like this. Is maybe what xuanet is thinking about. So yeah, knight g4 probably runs into a move like h3. Then you have to sack your knights somehow. But if you allow queen h5 in any case, without coverage here, that's going to be troublesome, because not only is it threatening on h6, there's also threats of taking on f7 with the queen here, and then a pawn on g6 can land, and there's just all kinds of trouble. So this knight takes h7, pawn on g5 idea is giving xuanet some problems to solve. He could have played knight at e2 in between here to not allow queen h5. So here's first knight at e2 and then king h1 and then take back, but he immediately pre-moved bishop takes f6. Maybe knight at e2 and c3 later on, and dislodging the knights is not so good, but he played it very quickly. And now knight at h8 ideas. Problem, however, is that white is mated with knight at h3. So here VariantsOnly cannot go for queen at g6, queen takes f7, with all kinds of threats, since there's knight at h3 takes, and then knight e2 and knight at e2 and bishop at f3 and queen at f3 to follow. Open up the squares around the king here with knight h3. So he needs to defend that, and after he defends knight at h3, there's probably a very strong move. The queen is covering somehow. So he opens up the position now, but there might be some cheeky way for xuanet to play this. I would like to dislodge the queen from g2 somehow. For example, bishop at g4 would have been my choice, I think. Because now the queen can defend, and if the queen moves away from g6, there might be ideas with knight at g6. But probably it's just all just winning for black. Bishop at f3 here looks really strong. If you take either bishop, knight at e2 comes into play. Okay, but xuanet found a way to just win the material safely. And this will probably make VariantsOnly design. Yeah, you can maybe try queen g3, but yeah, bishop takes g2. It's a very slow bishop takes g2, but still it's easily winning. For black, knight at g6 and king up, or even king g8. Perfectly fine for black. There we go, resignation. So xuanet takes first blood and now gets to play the white pieces. But as you can see here, this is, I think, their last match. The 9-8 one. xuanet also took the first game, but after that, VariantsOnly took 5 out of the next 6. So, without even the rating difference, don't count out VariantsOnly here. Okay, going for rook d1. This is a long line, but not going for knight takes c7, queen takes c7, then move the rook, since you have bishop c3 ideas. You could play knight b5 here instead of rook d1. But that's really messy, and I think black should do okay there, if I remember correctly. Hey Shurua, thanks for following. The problem here with white's position is that sometimes bishop at c1 is annoying. But apart from that, he has a really nice king safety, bishop b5 check and castles if necessary, and black's king is a little airy right now. So how do you continue here? You could try queen e7. And then maybe quickly develop here and try to get your king to safety. Taking here knight at g7 looks really bad, so don't take. Rook g8 takes. Don't take back either, so you just have to waste a move somehow. Really weird idea, maybe castling and then rook e8 check, and then try to set up some defense with knight at f5 after. and bishop at h6 ideas. Variant's only taking a very long think here. You would like to play bishop at c1 and just scoop it up, but he goes knight at e4. Expected by variants only, playing or by xuanet I mean, playing very quickly queen f4, knight e5, queen takes f7 ideas. Okay, now we have bishop c1. Queen e5, and what's the response? I guess bishop e6. So you can run the king to c8. Okay, keep developing. But now xuanet also has time to castle if he wants to. Now I would consider maybe sacking the queen. And then bishop here. Okay, knight takes, but now knight takes and knight at f6. Winning the rook. Looks really good for white. And also ideas of queen takes c7 might be just really strong. So black resigns already. Also very long time, 2 minutes in between. Okay, so variants only losing 2-0 so far. Still following scoreline, I think, from their previous match. But yeah, 70 move game, last game also pretty convincingly went to xuanet after the opening. So variants only needs to switch it up. Yeah, some talk in the chat about that you actually have to go knight takes d2 here instead of queen takes, not and then if a takes you can take on c7 and play knight at b5 to prevent the bishop coming to c3, as I explained before. I figured just talk a bit about this game since they're taking a break or something. Maybe getting something to drink, I don't know. Yeah, so here already it looks troublesome. Knight at e4 seems correct, and maybe here he has to play another move. Maybe be disruptive and also sort of defensive with bishop at b4. Because you cannot really block on c3, so you have to block on d2, since king e2 runs into knight c3. And then you make him waste a pawn or a bishop. Probably you have to block with the pawn or the knight. If you block with the bishop, knight takes, and then bishop at g5 ideas. And then there's pressure on d2. And white could still play bishop e5 and castle out of trouble, but black at least has some counterplay there. So just drop the check here. Bishop b4 looks okay. But still he went on with bishop at c1, queen e5. And still here I thought maybe you can get away with taking here. Takes, and then some bishop at b4 again. Or bishop a5 covering c7. It's also maybe some ideas of just queening here. That actually look nice. Maybe not enough, but there could be ideas of queening here. Let's see if there's an update on why they aren't moving. Or is something wrong with my leeches? No, they're not playing. Because the idea of this is that you can play bishop d2 and knight takes d2 and then some queen sacrifices and knight to c3. And in some cases you can just pick up this bishop, or you can drop a rook on the back rank again. In this particular situation it's not working, but it's a nice idea to show. But probably, maybe he should go here for bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and knight d4 next game, since this wasn't working. And maybe this is what he played. Pawn a3 is actually better for black, but he should switch it up. And if you would like to play knight f6 again and d5, he should try to play something else. Hey Hercules, welcome. Yeah, and you would, against not that experienced players, you probably can get away with a bishop move here. But e6 is the safe and probably best move. It's a bit passive. For example, bishop g4 and knight takes d5, queen takes d5, knight d3 is really good for white. It's a bit annoying that there's no update on what's happening. Okay. Well, let's check first game then. And I'll keep an eye on if they're playing again. On my other screen. And then when they start playing again, I'll switch back. I'm deliberately not putting analysis on, because I think my computer doesn't allow it. Yeah, Hercules asking, I think their rules allow a 10-minute break. I think they do. And also not putting analysis on because the players might be watching. They won't benefit from my inferior analysis. So knight g5 is the best move here. And I think there is some line here with bishop e3. And then knight d4, I think. This is an idea. So he got rid of the bishop, and the price is the price as a queen, but you got rid of this bishop on f7, and you can try to use your extra pieces. So that's the idea for black, to go queen e8, not only to guard f7, but also get this idea into play. Because if you cover your pawn, for example, with let's say bishop b6, there are some ideas of knight takes f7 and just putting more pressure on the black pieces there around the king. And in this case, this knight isn't really a good defender. So already this looks tricky for white. Okay, but VariantsOnly played knight b5 immediately. Now bishop d8 to cover the pawn. And now you notice the difference. This knight isn't traded yet for this one. Okay, they have started again. Maybe some more after, if they take a break again. And VariantsOnly starting with e4 this game. Again, let's see if xuanet responds with e5 as last game, or that's... I think e4, e5 is xuanet's main opening. He likes to play that a lot, and he knows a lot of ideas. Maybe not up to date to 10 move theory and stuff like that, but I'd expect him to know anything. Not everything, but just a lot. VariantsOnly again going for d3. Ooh, and a deviation here, 94, and not d6. Is that a free pawn? I'd say so. I would pick up the gauntlet here and take on e5. If d6, you just sack on f7. But okay, he's going to play it a bit safer. And now probably knight e2, but then d5 is, I guess, the idea of xuanet. Opening up the bishop quickly, play knight h4 and go after the g2 square. And white needs some time to develop this knight. Okay, so VariantsOnly giving up the knight. And now it's maybe he thought he could take back and play d5. Could take on e7 and then on d5. But then the queen is on e7 and there's problems here on e2. So that's not a possibility. And now bishop takes. If pawn takes, you can even play bishop g4 maybe. But also just king takes looks okay. I don't think you can get away with g6, but that's also something to consider. Let's say if the bishop was on c5, g6 would actually be an option. But now g6, knight takes c7. Because it looks really weird to give up g7, but as long as there's no rook for h8, it's not that bad. Okay, xuanet going for this piece, saying you cannot open the queen, because then I'll play knight at h3 ideas. But I don't know about this one. I think you have to move the rook, or just defend this somehow. King takes g7, bishop at g5, or looked annoying, or even king takes g7, e5, and bishop at d4 to follow. Looked strong. So VariantsOnly sacked 2 pieces for a couple of pawns, material-wise. Yeah, no rover yet from variants only. No a4, rook a3. We might see it if he gets in the mood. And indeed, xuanet might know a couple of ideas to just refute it. xuanet spotted that he can play knight h3 and takes g5. If you take, there's knight f3 and g2 squares open. But giving up the knight also gives chances of knight h6, knight f5 maybe. But you're gonna need another knight to be really annoying here with these two knights. Okay, if you just take back is good, I think. So you might have to try some rook g1, bishop takes, knight at h6, bishop takes f6, double check. But yeah, king takes f6, so what's the follow? Maybe there's something there. I hope he's looking at something like that. Okay, but he's played this instead. Yeah, you cannot take the queen here. You're just losing bishop takes g2 as checkmate. And xuanet probably didn't calculate everything, but he knows this is checkmate. But maybe he might be proven wrong. Okay, I'd start with bishop at h3. And now you have to think for a bit. Okay, pawn h4, knight at g6 looks good. Pawn at h4 and knight at f3 was probably even better, but he found a quicker one. With pawn g6 to finish. Well done by xuanet. So 3-0, and VariantsOnly repeating the line, but xuanet going for a double take on d5 instead of guess what was it again? Knight f3? I'm not sure. Do you take the queen here? Do you take the pawn? That's the question. I think this is correct. And VariantsOnly probably happy with this outcome. Both players don't have any pieces developed, except the queen trades might be coming. And after that he can just play a game without much theory. I would probably start with a move like knight at d4 would come to mind, but then a queen drop on e4 would be pretty annoying. Okay, so now he's brought his b8 knight to b4. Just queen e7, pawn d6 takes. Queen trade is helping actually, because then you have developed your bishop, and there's still knight takes e2 on the line. So yeah, pawn d6 looks like the xuanet move to put more pressure. And then probably f takes is okay for black. And takes, and bishop takes. Queen takes b7 is then something to consider. But black also can play knight at c5 actually. Knight at c5 and your knight on b4 is not hanging because there's knight d3. Discover check. So yeah, and knight at c5 also gets the queen away from c2. But okay, you have to give up 2 knights basically to get the queen. But after that, white only has knights in hand, so not that efficient of blockaders. But he has found a cheaper way to push the queen to c4 if he wants to cover c2. But then e5 is just on. Okay, quickly play knight at b6. He wants to go after d5, not queen e5, knight f3, something like that. But it's still on next move, or if queen c3, that's just knight takes. So this looks good. And queen b5 to check, it just runs into bishop b7. He's pushing the queen, he wants the queen to go to c3, or all the way here. But if it goes to g3, c2 is of course on. Oh, it would also, c6 would also be nice maybe with queen e5. And this was hanging. But okay, bishop d7, this looks perfectly fine. You could take the queen, I guess. Queen takes, knight takes. Queen e2 to cover, and now just block with the queen somewhere. I like it on e4. Queen e5 also would have been nice to play knight e5 next, and then your knight is landing on d3. A cheaper way, as in a cheapo. No, a cheaper way material-wise. Okay, but this should be VariantsOnly first win. Developing. Taking material. There's no way there's enough for white after takes, attacking wise, and white also is under 20 seconds, whereas black has a lot of time left, so he should win this game. Knight at d3 comes to mind, king d2, queen at e1. Looks really good. Upper super blonde calling the mate already. So knight at d3, VariantsOnly probably just calculating it all the way. But yeah, the main idea is knight at d3, king d2, queen e1, king takes, bishop at e4, king here or here, and then mate with your remaining pieces. Okay, but he missed it. Queen e3. And now he has 2 queens, but no knights left to drop on e4. But still, he should be in the driver's seat here. Pawn here, queen here, bishop here, something like that. And you force the king out. He's found the best way. Bishop at e4, forcing the king back after queen at d2, and then pawn at c2 is made. So the queen has to run up, but now it's mate in 1. Okay, good job, VariantsOnly. Putting himself on the board and repeating lines. But now he castles. Knight c3, and now he has the option of going d4. Maybe not in this particular line. d6 has to be played first. Okay, bishop e3. Now we have the line of what I discussed in the analysis while they were taking a break. And not knight d4, but bishop g4, which might be better actually than my suggestion. Problem is that there are some ideas of bishop e6 indeed. Knight takes c3 is helping white. But xuanet, looking at his clock, he seems to know what he's doing. Knight f5 maybe. Okay, just take. Alright. And put a pawn. If the knight moves, you drop a knight on f7 and you try to mate him on h8. So this is going to be defense for a while for black. I guess just defend the knights with the bishop. But still, yeah. Then let's say bishop h5 takes, take all. And then you have a queen on f7 and white just plays a bishop on the long diagonal and threatens everything. Knight takes d6. You have to watch out for knight at h3 ideas, of course. But taking back is not good. Maybe he has found e7 to be working. He's not made it yet. Black needs one more knight for this knight h3 idea. Knight f3, bishop at g2, knight h4, queen at g2. Or the smothered mate with knight h3, queen g1. So 95 is suggested. Mine here, yeah, yes. Or is it rapid variance? We'll never know. I think it's in the bio of VariantsOnly, if he's rapid variance or not. Let's see, e7, block, rook f8. Takes. Probably not enough, but he's going for it. Okay, let's see what he has figured out, if it will be enough. He blocks with the knight. That's some good news, because now there's no knight h3 ideas. But there's just so much coverage on e7 where you would like to 95 and 97 ideas. And now I feel black should be able to take over somehow. Okay, let's try pawn at h4, h3. If takes, then there's. I was thinking about some rook g2 ideas, or rook h1 takes, bishop at f3, take the blocker, king takes, and then The idea is to lure the king to f3 and then knight d4 wins the game. I don't know about rook g4. Hey, star 6174. Thanks for following. But okay, now he has bishop h5 covering and knight d4 coming. Yeah. Okay, knight f5. You cannot move the knight now from e7 since knight e7 was made. That's the idea. But now you can take and play knight d4. Ooh, this looks bad. Rook takes g2. You cannot take it, but you can go to h1. Probably rook takes g2 is not necessary. A move like knight at h6, because you cannot take queen takes g5 was not possible. But rook takes g2 is indeed just a free pawn. Yeah, so rook g3. Looks like there might be a queen sack here. Queen h4, pawn h3. I guess you have to block with the knight. Okay, he blocks with the bishop. But it doesn't matter. Okay, xuanet's taking... That's another black game. Okay, and we go into a different line here. No taking on d5. This is known. xuanet knows that he has to play d5. But VariantsOnly has done some research in this line as well, I feel. Because he played it a couple of times before. And this is one of the sharpest lines you can play. It's really... There's so much happening. What's pawn at b3? I guess it's a slip. Or is it some... What is pawn at b3? He may have slipped it and he wanted pawn at h6 or pawn at b4. I don't know what he wanted. But I guess the move is rook e1. But now, yeah, VariantsOnly can just safely castle. Again, you would like the pawn to land on h6, so let's just say it's a slip of the mouse by xuanet. And he needs to move on now. Okay, well, let's review. White is actually sort of safe here, and he has the advantage of being sort of fully developed, whereas black has these pieces still doing nothing. I was about to say, so white should maybe wait with taking on e6 and opening up the pieces, but he went for it anyway. And he went for it since he wants queen takes g4, I guess. Okay, and it feels like this was a pre-move, queen takes d1. And now you have to deal with, you would like to play queen h3 and threaten all kinds of stuff, but there was takes, king here, and queen at g8 checkmate. Now rook d8 comes. But we have to take into consideration that white only has a queen to block, so maybe we can use that to our advantage. Okay. VariantsOnly decides to go bishop d6, but I feel rook takes d6 is good. Ah, that was a really nice idea posted by Super Blonde. Queen f3, and if you go here, pawn here, take the knight. But bishop takes f1 seems to be defending. But at least there's this idea of queen here and pawn here as well. And then knight takes g2, take on h2, and then knight f3, rook h2. All sort of stuff happening there. Let's see if it's right. Let's say white plays a4, then queen h3, rook h2, pawn at g2, knight takes g2, queen takes takes, king takes, of course, and then rook h3. The king has to move to g1, and then knight f3 is made. So black actually is threatening checkmating ideas here with queen h3. So there is defense needed, and rook h2 is played as defensive move. But maybe you still play queen h3. Okay, he just plays it safe. And it was also mating before I suggested rook takes d6, but indeed queen h3 was also possible there. Yeah, he is a Hercules. Okay, but now we have a couple of trades, and the rook on h2 actually might become a danger. But I guess you can get away with something here, because pawn at f7, king takes f7. Not much going on. You would like maybe some rook d8, but okay, more pressure coming. Now you can just take, because the rook is pinned, so nothing to be worried there. But this looks safer, I guess, to his eyes. And just take everything. He's playing bishop h5 to cover f3, which might be useful. making him use the queen and now take everything. Queen h3. He's making it more difficult than necessary, I feel. But I guess he has it now. Takes, and then there's queen at g2. And now there's takes, rook at d1, whatever. Yeah, anything wins. Okay, 4-2. VariantsOnly is still in it. And just going back to e4, e5. And he hasn't managed to win any of these games. Okay, be brave now then and switch it up and go knight takes e5. That would be nice. Okay, takes on d4 and now goes knight d5. To prevent d5, I guess. But after knight f6, bishop b3, d5 still happening. You cannot really go bishop f4 because knight at g6 is just helping black's situation, so you have to go something like knight h5. And take on g7. But I don't know about this. Again, I feel black is okay here. And already black could try for some ideas of forcing the issue. Pawn f3, knight e2 stuff. But probably he needs one more pawn to make everything work there. So I guess he's just going to defend for now. And try to make use of his extra piece. Let me just post it here again. 30 people watching. Okay, so knight g4 plate, covering f6 and h6. Pawn at h6 still possible, of course, but just moving back with the king then. And now there are also ideas of knight e2 and pawn f3, since the queen is no longer covering back home. And I feel again that that white is in trouble. Because let's say he makes a random move, there's ideas of pawn e2, knight f3, and nastiness. That's just a piece, knight e2. What am I missing? I guess xuanet is also going, what is this? Is this something? Am I missing something? But he will check it and then play knight e2. That's of course the best way to go. See if there's a trick and not play it instantly in these types of matches where there's something on the line. And now the queen is trapped. Okay, xuanet takes 5-2, and he also already has 1 match point. Not that it really matters, because you just need game points. So he needs to keep pushing for 8-2. Because the more game points he gets, the better. Okay, knight c6, pawn a6, and now knight f4. But I guess you have to deal with this. And then there was going to be another pawn on a7, and then 2 pieces were hanging. But now the bishop on b7 looks nicely here. And it's actually funny, because I once had a game against VariantsOnly in chess, where in over the board chess, where I was strict with a bishop on d7 and some nastiness here. So you might see some themes along the b7 g2 diagonal. For example, a pawn at g4 idea, the knight moves, knight takes d4, and then you sack your knight here. Your queen for the knight, and you play knight h3. That's our ideas for black, that xuanet has to take into account, because then the king has to move to h1, and then the knight opens up the bishop. So he I think rightfully assessed that he needs to do something about this bishop before it becomes a monster in one of the sample lines I just showed or explained. And now bishop c8, try to trade a pawn at b7. And now the bishop is being back to just be a regular pawn on the back rank, looking at his own pawn and looking at this white stronghold here. Yeah, I was thinking rook takes b7 for 2 pawns. And now you have 5 pawns in hand, so but that's of course really nice, but you need time to put them on the board. So pawn at f6, let's go. Pawn at e6, pawn at g4. And I don't know about bishop g5. It's giving VariantsOnly time to put a pawn on the board on a nice square for him, I'd say. So here I would consider maybe pawn at g4. But he won't have it. He's just going for pawn at e6. But I like this for black actually. He seems pretty safe. And pawn at g4 or just g4. And this bishop is becoming a strong factor into the game. Okay, he's just defending the g5 pawn. What's the play? I guess bishop at g6. Also looking supporting pawn e4 later on. What did he see here? Not sure. Because white has some really strong ideas with knights. G7, king e7, knight f5, king back, and then some queen sack. He would really like to play rook g2 and knight f4, but this knight is being annoying. So what to do? I guess knight f5 is useful because you just defend, but you allow queen takes, and you don't want that move. But okay, knight f5, queen takes, g4 looks like a way to continue the game. g4, king takes, knight e5, something like that. If knight takes, there's rook at h4, checkmate. But there's also rook takes, of course. But it's okay, knight e5, rook takes e5. And then there might be bishop takes f3. Well, that looks possible because the king has to take back. Because after queen takes, there's still rook at h4, checkmate. Ah, nice. He's lured him into this, knight at f4, if king h3, and rook g4. Okay, good job. Variants only. And again, e4, e5, but he's going queen h5, and this is some line. And knight h6 by xuanet. And knight e2 to prevent knight d4. Knight h6, I don't know. Ooh, this is just takes and knight f6. This looks like a really quick win for whites if even just d3 allowing this. Don't go for the draw. d3, knight e5 and just take this maybe. Or just play some. Or just bishop g5 and sack the queen. Would be funny. But let's see if xuanet Ross finds a way out of this mess. And knight g8 is not working. The queen's still covering f7 after that. So you have to do something else. You could play knight at d5. Yeah, there he goes. Because there's this nice idea of takes, king e8, which seems logical, and then knight c7, and then you open up f7. And if you go to f8 here immediately, or after, yeah, knight c7, king d6, king has to run to d6. But this is going to be mate as well. Queen f7, knight b5. Should be mate. Or queen d5, pawn d6, pawn c7. And if the king goes to b6, pawn a5 is mate. And now you win the queen. And okay, maybe he's lacking one pawn here somehow. But you can play queen e5. Okay, he takes an extra pawn and threatens to take the rook. But you could play queen e5 here if blocks queen c5 gets you the material, and you can also pick up the rook. But xuanet will try to get water out of a stone here. But yeah, this should be game over. Even take the bishop here if you want to. But I guess a move like pawn e7 was also good enough. And now you can sack the queen again if you want, but you can also sack on e7. Takes, pawn, everything is winning. Okay, so VariantsOnly gets a chance for a 5-5 here. Oh yeah, Hercules, get water out of a stone, that's a Dutch expression. I sometimes find myself to just translate them, and maybe it's the same thing in English, and then I'm lucky, and otherwise you learn something new. But I guess it's a reference to that it's hard to get water out of stone, but also the story in the Bible about Moses, with the help of God, getting water for the Israelis. Okay, he might bishop. Yeah, bishop takes, knight takes, bishop c6, knight f4. And white will try knight d4, but then he cannot play d4, so that's nice. And if he takes on c6 after, you develop your knight for free. So this looks okay for black. Ooh, can you do this? Knight takes, pawn at e2. I guess queen here, bishop g5 ideas. Looks rather shaky, actually. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, but could be right, Hercules. Okay, so d takes and bishop d6. Not going for the queen trade. But now you could try maybe some pawn at e2 cheekiness. I mean, yeah, pawn at e2 is also the same idea. I meant to say, I clicked on e4, but I meant to say pawn at e4. But pawn at e2, rook takes, bishop d6, takes h2, and then the queen opens up. But okay, he goes pawn at e4. And the point is the same. You cannot take it. But I guess knight g5 is a possibility. Now he has found that if you take, there's queen takes. Don't pre-move it. It's not necessary. Because king h1, yes. And remember last game or a couple of games ago he pre-moved this. And it may not have been necessary. But he finds that it's still a good move. And he moves the bishop back. Can you go rook takes? I don't know. What's the line there? Queen f1. And yeah, I don't know if you have enough. I think rook takes d6 is viable. Or at least worth considering. Hey, Blackbird99 and Atharv Mishra, thanks for following, guys. So xuanet taking a really long think here. Queen at c8, maybe he wants to provoke queen at d8, because then rook takes d6 is for sure a very strong move. So now the knight is used, so now rook takes d6 looks like an idea. Hey, Blackbird99, do you do commentary for all the CWC candidates matches? Now, I'd like to, but unfortunately for me, a lot of candidates are from North America or Australia. So they tend to play at night time for me, like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. So unfortunately I cannot comment on anything, on everything. But I'm trying to cover some that I can, like this one. But xuanet is from Spain and VariantsOnly is from the Netherlands. So they play on maybe queen takes g5 first in between was good. But now he's just losing. And black resigns. King takes h, not waiting. King takes h2. Okay, so xuanet takes 6-4. Very well done by him, but VariantsOnly came back after 4-1 down, and not many prospects, I would say. Not much prospects to get a good game in. xuanet was playing really strong in the beginning, but he went there. Let me show you what's up. What's it here? Yeah, I have it opened already. But Blackboard99 and others, Mark Words playing in the candidates and Jan Lee organizing everything, are also streaming. And they're from Australia, so they have more chance to cover some of the Aussie matches. and North America as well sometimes works for them, I feel, or better than it works for me. Okay, so we just had VariantsOnly playing xuanet, and xuanet won 6-4, and he has played only 6-4 so far. So in terms of getting first in the tournament, that's not really good, but of course you would just like to play good matches and show what he's worth. And yeah, I think he's going to end somewhere in the middle of the pack, and VariantsOnly struggling so far. He got a tie versus Boxilla, that's a nice result. And he played probably the two best players, Chicken and Sugi, or at least the two best players so far with the best results. And already, I guess the finisher was watching, or another editor, and edited the standings. So xuanet now in third, but he played one match more than some of the other top guys. And Jasugi only 4 points behind first, but he has one more extra match remaining. Since from last week, Jasugi King Switcher still has to be played. We are now in week 4, but Jasugi King Switcher was lagging behind a bit, but we'll probably see that shortly. So yeah, let's see if there's something coming up. So we have xuanet VariantsOnly this today, and maybe some more are being planned, scheduled for this weekend. I feel the weekend is a good time for everyone. But as you can see here, 1:30 a.m., 1 a.m. These are the regular times for Amsterdam time that the matches are being played. So we have Mogwart versus Jasugi and Master 10 versus Art of Deception, and that's just too late for me. But maybe Jan Lee will cover one of these, or Mogwart will cover this one, and sometimes he also does commentary on his own matches, but then afterwards. So he records his match and then gives commentary afterwards about what his thoughts process was. Also very insightful. So yeah, that's it. Coming up, I'll leave you with the standings, and I hope to see you next time. Don't know exactly when that is. University is starting for me again, so I'm not as frequent as I was in August and July, where I just had summer break, and also COVID not making it that busy for me. But now university is starting again, as well as work, so probably won't stream as much, but I hope to stream at least some commentary on these matches, and maybe some tournaments during the week. We'll see. Hope to see you next time, and hope you have a very pleasant day wherever you are.